Following a failed engagement, a struggling blonde teacher seeks ways to fund a chest enhancement surgery to attract a wealthy partner. At John Adams Middle School, or JAMS, Principal Wally Snurr brings the faculty together to say goodbye to their colleague Elizabeth Halsey, who has resigned because of her upcoming marriage. The man then gives the departing teacher a gift certificate on behalf of the educators as a farewell gesture. Shortly after, the lecturer gives her farewell speech, where she insincerely claims she'll miss her students and co-educators. Later, Elizabeth quickly backs out of her parking spot, almost hitting a school bus. She then speeds toward her fiancé's fancy house, but when she arrives, the woman sees her partner Mark with packed bags and her future mother-in-law Mrs. Pubic waiting. The man intends to end the relationship upon discovering that the former teacher has used $16,000 of his money. During their conversation, the older woman interjects, suggesting that her future daughter-in-law doesn't truly love her son and just wants him for the money. When Mrs. Pubic asks Elizabeth if she knows Mark's birthday, the blonde woman pretends to be offended. However, when she realizes that her partner's birthday is on the same day, she fibs about forgetting it and hastily presents her gift certificate as a last-minute gift. However, this response only solidifies the man's decision to end their engagement. As a result, the gold-digging woman expresses concern about where she'll live next. 3 months later, Elizabeth reapplies as a teacher at JAMS. On her first day, she meets her bubbly colleague Amy Squirrel, who feels saddened about her broken engagement. In response, the rehire lies and shares that she discovered her partner in bed with someone else. Though the energetic teacher welcomes her back, she reacts apathetically. Afterward, the instructor heads to her classroom and sits on her desk. While browsing a magazine, she encircles a pop star's chest area, revealing her desire to get the exact figure. Suddenly, a soft-spoken teacher named Lynn Davis invites Elizabeth to lunch, and the rehire accepts since it won't cost her anything. During their meal, the blonde educator shares that she's seeking a husband. In response, the kind lecturer reassures her she'll meet a wonderful guy. However, the desperate woman reveals her desire to undergo chest augmentation to be more appealing to wealthy men. That evening, Elizabeth goes to a bar hoping to find a wealthy potential partner. She ends up sharing drinks with an attractive man named Jason. While they initially hit it off, the offended instructor abruptly leaves when he declares that he aims to be an occupational therapist like her. The following day, the teacher, still feeling the effects of her hangover, shows up for class. While sitting at her desk, student leader Sasha Abernathy offers her some cookies as a kind gesture. Then, in her groggy state, the educator instructs the 7th graders to watch a movie called Stand and Deliver so she can catch some sleep. During lunch, gym teacher Russell Jettis approaches Elizabeth and invites her to hang out sometime. However, the woman declines, pointing out that she doesn't date coworkers. Seconds later, Amy approaches the blonde teacher and confronts her for not supervising the students during lunch and for letting them watch a movie on their first day back at school. The enthusiastic teacher proposes introducing some icebreakers, but the hungover woman dismisses the idea and makes an excuse to leave. As she walks down the hallway, Elizabeth notices the handsome Scott Delacourt, a substitute teacher who seems lost while searching for his assigned classroom. During their encounter, she admires his expensive watch, which prompts the new teacher to share that his family is in the watch business. Upon hearing this, the desperate woman becomes intrigued by her wealthy colleague. She interrogates him and learns that he just got out of a relationship with Catherine, a woman with stunning features. Seeing the ex-girlfriend's photo, the instructor feels more motivated to get chest enlargement surgery and heads to a clinic to inquire about the price. However, she doesn't have enough savings to pay the fee of $9,300. In her quest for funds, Elizabeth reaches out to her father and ex-fiancé, but her attempts prove unsuccessful. She also approaches her roommate Kirk, hoping to borrow some money, but he informs her that he'll be short on their monthly rent. The next day at school, the desperate instructor lets her class watch a movie again. After dismissal, she notices that one of her students, Garrett, tries to approach his beautiful classmate Chase. Seconds later, Sasha approaches Elizabeth, informing her about the car wash event during the weekend. The teen tells her that last year, they raised $6,000. Desperate to make money, the teacher starts conversing with Wally, pretending bonding, they share a mutual passion for dolphins. She then reveals her interest in overseeing the car wash event for the 7th graders. When the principal informs Elizabeth that Amy has been in charge for 2 years, the instructor insists that her colleague should have a break so she can take over. Upon hearing this, the man approves her request. On car wash day, the teacher arrives in provocative clothing that weekend and washes the vehicles to attract more customers. Suddenly, Scott comes, and she invites him for a drink, but he declines. After the event, the suspicious Amy spots the instructor counting the money she earned. A few days later, the enthusiastic educator enters the men's restroom and informs Wally about the possibility of Elizabeth embezzling the car wash money. However, the principal dismisses her accusation, emphasizing the need for concrete evidence. As a result, the bubbly teacher passes by her colleague in the hallway and gives her a bad look. During Elizabeth's class, the school secretary enters the room to distribute the pretests for the state standardized tests, which the unengaged teacher was unaware of. After the secretary leaves, the blonde instructor conducts the examination. Later in the cafeteria, Lynn and Elizabeth are on lunch duty. Suddenly, Scott enters the area and greets them. To have a private conversation with the handsome teacher, the lazy instructor asks her colleague to fetch her some milk. However, just as she manages to create the opportunity, Amy unexpectedly approaches them and playfully brings up the desperate woman's plans for chest enhancement, ensuring the algebra educator overhears. Upon learning this information, Scott comments that he's pro-choice, believing everyone should do what makes them happy. Suddenly, he excuses himself to attend class, prompting the bubbly teacher to accompany him to his assigned room. That evening, Elizabeth meets with her students' parents for a conference. Suddenly, Sasha's mother voices her worry about the teacher's focus on watching movies instead of preparing the students for the upcoming standardized tests. In her defense, the lazy educator highlights that the school hired her for her teaching abilities and explains that she employs various multimedia techniques. After addressing a single question, Elizabeth abruptly ends the meeting. As she prepares to exit the room, Morgan's dad approaches her and offers extra cash in exchange for giving his son more academic attention. As a result, the blonde woman approaches the other parents, offering her tutorial services for extra money. Following this, she starts hustling on the side just to earn more for her chest enhancement surgery. Over the next few days, the tension between Elizabeth and Amy intensifies. To win Scott's heart, the bubbly teacher gifts him his favorite book. Meanwhile, Sasha catches the blonde instructor doing illegal medication inside her car, prompting the woman to inform the student that she has a doctor's prescription. She then gifts her some cookies for the holiday. Before leaving the teenager, Elizabeth advises her to stop dressing like a congresswoman. In response, the student leader corrects her, saying she aspires to be a president although unsure about her career path. Hearing this, the lazy teacher reassures her that she doesn't need to make career decisions at her age, implying that she might end up in a job she didn't initially choose. During the Christmas party, Russell approaches Elizabeth and invites her to get days together. However, she leaves him and dances with Scott instead. Shortly after, the substitute teacher asks her to the hallway so they can talk privately. In their conversation, the algebra instructor confesses his feelings for Amy to the blonde educator. Upon hearing this, she informs him that the enthusiastic teacher is interested in women and only uses him for his money. When Scott feels disappointed, Elizabeth tries to console him by suggesting they can find other people to date once she completes her chest surgery. Following this, the heartbroken teacher approaches Russell and accepts his earlier invitation. With Lynn, they head to the school gym for illegal medication. After the compassionate teacher tries it, she leaves her two colleagues alone. As they continue conversing, the two teachers open up to each other. The gym teacher reveals that he once aspired to be a Harvard professor of physical education when he was younger, but ended up enjoying his role in middle school. In response, Elizabeth speculates that she might have been a non-virtuous person in a past life, which led her to become an educator. Upon hearing this, Russell invites her to drink over the winter break, but she hesitates. Suddenly, the gym teacher seeks confirmation about the blonde woman's plans for chest enhancement, stating there's nothing wrong with her current features. On a Christmas day, Elizabeth tries to get dazed, but her lighter stops working. After realizing the liquor store is closed, she stumbles upon her student Garrett and his mom Melody, who invites her to spend the holiday with them. Upon accepting the invitation, the blonde teacher joins her student's family for dinner. After the meal, Garrett shares a romantic poem he wrote, confessing that it's for his classmate Chase. However, upon hearing this, the woman gives her student a pep talk, harshly emphasizing that his pretty crush may not share the same romantic feelings. Following the winter break, Elizabeth returns to class and allows the 7th graders to watch movies while she she indulges in liquor. After class, Lynn invites her to attend a show by Period 5, a teacher band, but she initially hesitates. However, when she discovers that Scott is a member, she suddenly insists on going. In the Cowboy Place saloon, the lazy teacher drinks with her colleagues Russell and Lynn. While the timid teacher attempts to dance with another guy, the gym teacher invites the blonde woman to hang out. When she hesitates, the man only asserts that he'll keep asking her, prompting her to wish him luck. During Period 5's set, Scott sings an original song he has written for Amy, who is also present on the show. Upon realizing they're dating, Elizabeth begins to feel insecure, thinking the bubbly teacher has a better chest than hers. While driving home, Lynn tries to comfort her, directing her to focus more on becoming the best teacher to win the bonus. When she hears this, the blonde teacher slams the brakes and inquires more about the details. Her colleague informs her that the instructor with the highest scoring class gets $5,700, and Amy wins annually. Determined to get the bonus, Elizabeth adjusts her teaching methods, which surprises her students. She starts lecturing seriously, even employing unconventional quizzes and recitations to the 7th graders. Later that day, Amy and Scott share their story about discovering an Ethiopian restaurant inside the teacher's lounge when the blonde teacher suddenly arrives with a misbuttoned shirt. After their colleague fixes her clothing, Scott commends her for the changes she has made in her class, praising her passion for teaching. Following this, the enthusiastic teacher questions Sasha about Elizabeth's teaching methods and discovers that the blonde teacher covers topics not part of the official syllabus. Then Amy asks the student leader for more information, promising her an extra grade in exchange. As a result, the teen reveals that she caught her instructor doing illegal medication. Upon learning this, the bubbly teacher reports this to Wally, who doesn't believe her because she doesn't have enough evidence. Suddenly, the principal shows her a dolphin figurine that Elizabeth had given her, implying why she thinks great of the blonde instructor. When Amy points out that the blonde educator is manipulating him, the school executive dismisses this, pointing out that she is just stressed and overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Elizabeth checks her students' papers and feels disappointed about their low scores, prompting her to throw the tests on the teens. After dismissing the class, the instructor picks up the state test manual and rips the address off the cover. Over the next few days, the blonde teacher doesn't attend her classes, allowing Scott to be the 7th grader's substitute teacher. She devises a plan to get answers for the current year's state tests to win the bonus. Elizabeth secures a sleeping medication and then dons an Annie wig to pretend to be a reporter. Following this, she reaches out to Carl Halabi, the officer behind the standardized examination. She successfully sets up a meeting with him to discuss the racial bias on the tests and asks to see the year's set for assessment. Upon hearing this, he agrees to the request but notes that he can only provide it after schools have administrated the exams. In response, the pretentious writer says she needs it sooner because of a tight deadline. However, the professional points out that the booklet is classified. To get him loose, Elizabeth invites the man to drink. As a part of her strategy, she allures Carl to take her to his office. There, she secretly slips a sedative on the man's glass. Once he's knocked down, the woman opens the file cabinet and gets the test manual. 1 month passes, and Wally announces that the John Adams Middle School can get in the top 5% of the state. Following this, he awards Elizabeth with a bonus, which shocks Amy. After securing the money, Elizabeth heads to the clinic to pay for her breast enhancement surgery. Following this, she drops by Amy's classroom, rubs an apple with poison ivy leaves, and then places it on her desk that has a "Learning is Fantastic" sticker on it. Later, the bubbly teacher sees the fruit on the desk, thinking her students had placed it there. After thanking her class, she bites the apple. During the school's Springfield trip, Amy isn't able to attend because she has a blistered face, which scares the kids. Seizing the opportunity, Elizabeth sits with Scott on the bus. The blonde teacher affirms when the substitute teacher asks if he's excited about her surgery. Left alone in the school, the enthusiastic teacher investigates her colleague's room. She swaps Elizabeth's desk with her own and calls a locksmith to open the bottom cabinet. When it's finally unlocked, she shockingly finds the test manual inside. Following this, Amy pays a visit to Carl and shows him Elizabeth's ID, leading him to acknowledge that she is indeed the journalist he had interacted with. When she confronts him about giving the blonde woman the manual, he defends himself by stating that he only provided quotes for her article. This information implies that the lazy instructor stole the booklet. Afterward, the bubbly teacher reports her discovery to Wally, who becomes convinced to recheck the students' scores to verify. Meanwhile, Elizabeth converses with Scott during the museum trip and manages to spend an intimate time with him that night. During their private moment, the blonde woman calls Amy so that she gets a voicemail of their sensual sounds. Shortly after, the blonde blonde woman stumbles upon Russell in the hall and invites him to drink, but strangely declines. The next day during their trip to Lincoln Memorial, Amy arrives and publicly calls out the blonde teacher for stealing the test manual and sleeping with Scott. She then informs her that she will meet with the principal and superintendent the following day. Later that day, Elizabeth arrives home and pays Kirk to blackmail Carl. Upon meeting the professional, he gives him an envelope containing his explicit photos in exchange for his silence. Meanwhile, the blonde teacher waits on her desk for the meeting. Suddenly, the school secretary enters the room to call her but reads the "Learning is Fantastic" sticker on her desk. Upon learning this, she realizes that Amy switched their desks. During the meeting, Carl Halaby arrives and informs them that he was lying in his statement days ago, pointing out that he had never met Elizabeth in any way. He justifies that he's using illegal meds, which makes him unreliable. After the professional leaves, the disappointed Amy demands a retest. However, the blonde teacher argues that being suspicious of their students who sacrificed and studied for the exams is improper. Elizabeth then explains that she worked hard for her school and deems herself imperfect. She adds that there are no perfect teachers, even implying that some are using illegal medication. As a result, the principal and superintendent allow professionals to investigate their school premises to find illicit substances. However, the sniffing dog walks towards Amy's room and finds the tablets in the hidden compartment of the bottom cabinet, leading to the teacher's arrest. Later in the teacher's lounge, Wally gathers the faculty and announces Amy's transfer to another district due to what happened. With a smile, the energetic teacher looks forward to the opportunity to work at one of the worst schools in the state. Shortly after, Scott approaches Elizabeth and proposes they start over, but she rejects him this time. Following this, she heads to the gym to ask Russell to sign her yearbook and writes his number in case she needs a lift after chest surgery. Afterward, the gym teacher clarifies if his colleague will still be educating next year, prompting him to confirm. Sensing that he's hitting on her, the blonde woman emphasizes that they won't be a couple, implying that he might be living in a weird place with a creepy roommate. The man corrects her, mentioning that he lives with 4 dogs. When she starts flirting with him, he informs her that he's already in a relationship, causing the woman to step back. However, moments later, he retracts his statement, indicating that he was just teasing. Suddenly, she leans in and kisses him. 3 months later, Elizabeth returns to school and confides in Lynn that she never underwent chest surgery. She explains that she no longer needed it because she met someone. As she continues walking, she notices students sitting on a bench and invites the kid wearing a cape into her office, revealing that she works as a guidance counselor.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.